Hi, and welcome to this week's episode hosted by Gray and Mark Lawson, John's Health and Fitness, and Mark Elm of Leeds Beckett University, where we take training theory and science onto the gym floor.
We're off. Morning, boys.
Morning.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 45. We've just been discussing that on here, of the Yorkshire Fitness Podcast. Welcome back if you're tuning in again. We've got our good mate Jon Bell with us doing episode 2 of the recent one about body image and self-worth. So we just thought we'd cover more of that, fellas, didn't we? And try and finalise it, wrap it up a little bit, what we were discussing on the episode 1. And try and put some solutions in place then for people so they know kind of how to manage how they've been feeling and kind of things like that.
Great stuff.
Do you want to, Joey, does want to do, I mean, we can all just chat, can't we, about the last episode?
We're going to say, because we covered a lot of things last time, didn't we, about it and how people feel differently about stuff. But then we just thought we could try and let Johnny give us some solutions and some strategies maybe that help you deal with or how you're feeling and keep you on track.
I think a good point.
I think that's there's no point knowing about it without knowing how to deal with it, is it? Or having at least a few pointers to help you deal with it.
I think one good thing we've had fed back from us though, a little bit at Gym Out, was people have said that they found it really useful, or they found it really relatable, being able to put us in the same shoes as them, knowing that we suffer. We go through just the same rubbish. Like, we get said to us a lot of time, don't we, Jim? It's like, oh, it must be easy for you because you're really motivated. How do you stay motivated? It's like, we're not motivated. That all year round to train every day. We just make ourselves do it. There's a big difference. We're not this super motivated, love training, we can't wait to train every day. Some days it's the last thing we want to do at dinner time. If you've been on gym floor for 6 hours and you're freezing cold, you just want to get warm and have a cuppa and have your dinner. But it's like, if you've just got your dinner hour and you put aside your dinner hour to train every day, you make yourself train. It's nothing to do with being super motivated. And so we go through exactly the same as everybody else. We're no different. It's just how we deal with things, innit? So I thought that was really good to hear from people.
Yeah. I've come up with a list of things today, and I think when people listen to it, I think quite a lot of us are kind of entrenched when we're feeling quite high shame, low motivation. I think a lot of us are entrenched to believe that that'll never work. In and of themselves, there's a list of things to do. If you just pick one off the list and give it a go, chances are that it's not sustainable, because quite a lot of entrenched feelings hang around for a while. That sense of not feeling self-worth, not feeling that self-esteem, that discipline, that motivation, that enjoyment to make sustained change. And it's important that we talk about that sustained change. You know, we just talked about New Year's resolutions a little bit and saying, blasting it out in 6 weeks ain't going to make sustainable life change. Blasting it out for 6 years sustainably, that's going to make change. But we underestimate what we can do in a year, but we overestimate what we can do in a couple of weeks. And I think a lot of people work anaerobically to get to their goals. These are things that we've got to put together. We've got to bring. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a number of different competing and complementing changes and little adaptations in our life to really, really move us forward. And I think if we're putting it all on one horse, if it don't win, we're buggered. So we've really got to make sure that we're splitting and diversifying our change across a couple of things. But these are not too invasive, and hopefully they're going to be quite useful. So the first thing I want to talk about is connection and perspective, and we just talked about that there before. Sitting on your own, isolating yourself with your own thoughts, it's really dangerous. It's dangerous for 2 reasons. 1, because of the damage it does, and 2, because shame is sure, and we talked about that last time. Shame is sure. And so if you do not speak with other people in the same boat, if you don't speak with other people who can help you, then ultimately what's going to happen is that image and that sense of how you see yourself and that lack of motivation is going to take hold, and it's going to stay around. It's going to be really difficult. To be like chipping the barnacles off the side of a ship eventually. It's going to be really difficult to get out. So connection and perspective basically come down to joining a gym, joining groups of like-minded people, finding your tribe. It's really, really important, because that me too is so therapeutic. It's so cathartic to spend time around people who also understand what it's like. And you must have that in the gym. You must have people coming in going, yeah, I were going through this. And it's really good to know that other people, and you just what you're saying there about finding out that you guys go through this as well. And I love it with clients, and clients will say, I'm really struggling with this. Do you ever feel that? And I go, yeah. like all the time. It's about our resilience. It's not about the fact that we don't go through it. It's about how we can adapt and move forward. But perspective with that one's really interesting, because we've got to work with some expectation management, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But if you can find a group of people who are just your tribe and can help you through this, a gym, a club, a society, that first act of immersing yourself vulnerably in that group is really good, because actually what it does, it lets other people know you're not on your own. But it's extremely important. So, body image and any sort of lack of motivation work that needs to go on, it's much more healthy, I believe, in a club or a society or gym-based setting.
So 100%, that is so important. I think exactly what I wanted to interrupt you there a little bit. Like, because we get that so much, don't we, Matt, up at gym? Like people kind of they want to start something. We get emails, like we get messages, like kind of prompting ones, and we kind of just say, "Come and try it." There's no way, like I don't want to. You don't want to try and sell things to people over email. It's like, just come in and see us. Look, you've contacted us. You've made the first step. Come and see us. Have a look around the gym and get a feel for the place, because this might not be for you, but there's plenty of other gyms, there's walking clubs, there's running clubs, you could go swimming, there's so many things, there's tennis clubs. What's a new big fad on Bill now?
Paddle.
Paddle. Like there is something for everybody, and a gym just might not be it, but if you come and see it, you'll know straight away. And there's different gyms, different mentalities. Some are big commercial gyms where there's bodies everywhere now, they'll all be really busy. Ours is we just tick over the same. So we always say that, but it's amazing how many people go through that. I want to come, but I dare. And they're really true. And a lot of them, we get a lot of contact us, and you'll be in a bit of an email or message kind of to and fro in, and then they'll end it and they never come. They're just like it must just become too much to actually get out there and try it.
And I go through the same sort of thing as well. I think one of the most cathartic and sort of therapeutic people can do is come for their first session, and they realise, I'm not going to drill any holes in their head, and it's going to be okay. And, there's no witchcraft involved. It's just talking. And some people go, you know what, I just feel better just for talking and getting this out. I've lifted a weight. And I think that first session, just joining in, being welcomed, and knowing that you're in safe hands is incredibly important to the progress and processes that are ahead.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We get that said, Matt, don't we? Most times it's like, like I said, everything I've just said. Then the ones when they do come, they go, "Oh, I don't know what we're worrying about." Like, well, we tried to tell you, but it's impossible.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you've got to find the right people, or you've got to find them. But just knowing that other people are doing it make you feel better in general, don't they? Do you know what I mean? If you think you're the only person who thinks like that, but if you think that everybody or most of us feel the same as you in one way or another, do you know what I mean? It might not. You might manage. You just learn how to manage it, don't you? And that's what groups can do for each other, can't they? And having support like you in your job, us in our job, that's what his goal is, isn't it? Really, it's to help and support people and get them through, and help them reach the goals. But that long term, sustainable stuff, rather than just hammering somebody for 8 weeks and them disappearing or back to square one. Yeah.
That's a great. I love it how Johnny puts that about anaerobic. Short, like January New Year's resolutions. It's for most people. Like I'm going to change my life. It's an anaerobic thing. You're never going to sustain it. It's not. So it's small steps to make them more aerobic, so you can do it.
And if you do, you're basically coming up, and your first experience is relief. When you've been holding your breath underwater, or you've been running. You come up, and the first thing you do is go. And it's the same with our goals. What we do is we have to recover from the fact that all we've done is sacrificed all this time and worked mentally and physically and aerobically over a large period of time and got through it. But we're not looking back and going, you know what, I've learned from that, or I feel really good about that, or well done. We just relieved it's over. It's like doing a marathon. Very few people, although I will put my hand up and say I did do this once, very few people finish a marathon and go, you know what, let's do another one, this is great.
Yeah. What most people say, I'm never doing that again, don't they?
Never doing that again. And then they do. Yeah. I once booked a marathon the day after I finished another one, but I was incredibly fit and incredibly stupid at the time, and I've learned since. But it's that sense of just gradually falling in love with process, which brings us to the next point, which is expectation management. So many of us arrive in therapy and in the gym in a very similar state, which is really unhappy and desperate for change, but wanting that change immediately. We become absolutely obsessed with not feeling the way that we do. Frightened of change in the sense that people are reluctant to change their habits and things like that, but wanting to be somewhere, something else. And I think it's incredibly important to understand that when you've been driven by that feeling, we're actually in quite a lot of child. From a Freudian perspective, we're in our inner child. We want the thing, we want the nice thing, we want the pain to go away. It's very binary. Don't like this, want that. And we become quite unreasonable, understandably so. But fall in love with gradual process and understanding the undulating aspects of process and difficulty and competing aspects in our life. That's really, really hard to get into our head when we're so desperately unhappy. And so expectation management is really good because actually what does it challenges shame and makes process part of it. And by that, I mean speaking to coaches, speaking to people who are experts and knowing that you're in child. Between everything and nothing, so the quote goes from The Importance of Being Earnest, know nothing. Know nothing. Put your goals and put your processes in the hands of people who know. This is where social media comes into it and all that sort of stuff where people are going, I did this in 6 weeks, I did this in 12 weeks. No, you didn't. and most people know you can't because actually that's not realistic. Falling in love with process and falling in love with going to the gym every week, finding new people, finding new competencies. This is something that people isn't on the goal list. People go, I want to lose 2 stone. How? With whom, over what time period, and with what competing things are going to go in there. And so speaking to your coaches, speaking to people in the gym, speaking to true experts whose aim is to let you know how things will be rather than selling you a product on social media. That's incredibly important because what it does, it tells you, right, in 6 months, I can expect this to happen. If I give that amount of time with this other things that are competing. And what that does, it really builds up that adult mindset, which makes us go, you know what, I've got 2 kids, it's a really busy job, I do a lot of travel. Yeah, that makes sense. Let the experts do the maths. You're a bruised child walking into a gym vulnerably saying, I just want to not look like this. Or I just don't, when they come see me, I just don't want to feel like this. One of my jobs is to tell people this is not going to change over a short period of time because we've got to unpack a lot of stuff. But once we do, we're going to pack it back properly and we're going to work through it. And the process of doing that is something that we can actually start to enjoy. So expectation management is incredibly important because it's an antidote to that shame that says never good enough, or that other one which Brené Brown talks about, which is who do you think you are? That idea that we jump into a gym and suddenly we're incredible and then we can't sustain that anaerobic sort of sense of things where actually we burn out.
Johnny,
Go on, Matt.
Oh, no, I was just going to say just exactly what you're saying. We try and tell people, and you're doing it all the time, but you don't get in shape by training 6 days a week for 8 weeks, do you? And then not training again. You get in shape by training 3 times a week, doing what you can commit to, and doing it for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? And then, and then you're in a better place, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? You just become that person, don't you? But doing this up and down, the waving up and down and blasts of high intensity stuff and then just dropping off a cliff and it does us bodies no good neither, does it really? Because bodies don't want to do that, they don't want to change, and we're just forcing it and putting it under more stress. The smaller amounts of stress that we can do, manageable stress, is way better moving forward. And like you say, it's just managing people's expectation because everybody wants it now, don't they? We all do it, it's fact. It no matter what it is.
We've all done it, Matt, haven't we? We've all, in years gone by, I have made that mistake. It's like, right, I'm going to have it. I'm going to go all out this year. This is going to be, I'm going to have a really big year starting in January. It doesn't last. You might get a couple of weeks in. It's like, I can't commit to this. This is crazy. Getting up before work, going train after doing things, you just can't do it, and then you give up. So it's like, so we've just learned. So when we tell people about the old New Year's resolutions, don't bite off more than you can chew. Look, it's about the long game. It's only through experience because we've been there and done it.
Yeah, and I put stuff in my diary before I'd laughed and gone, "You're never gonna do that."
No, knowing that it's not going to work out, but
there's no chance. I just smiled and I'm not getting my kit out because it's a fond idea that it's in my diary, but I'm not going to do it because I know that I'm stretching myself. A confession here. We talked about the fact that people really resonate with the idea that we would struggle. I spoke to my therapist not 2 weeks ago because I work with a therapist as well. And I was talking about this very fact about getting back fitter and getting a sense of, just body pride back in myself. It's been a while since I felt that way with lots of things going on. And I'm full of injuries like you boys, I'm sure. I'm full of old injuries. And so I'm always really frightened of getting hurt. But my brain and the way and my emotional schema, my emotional framework for exercise is 4 or 5 times a week, get out, blast it out. If it's raining, you're training. That sort of that rugby mentality that we all grew up with.
Yeah.
And I talked about it, and she said, suddenly when you were talking, you turned into a really unreasonable 21-year-old professional rugby league player. And I'm 45 in a couple of months. And she said, that used to work for you don't work for you anymore.
Yeah, it does.
So all you're doing is you're beating yourself and shaming yourself into being something that you can't be. That's another thing about expectation management. Stop trying to be who you were when things and circumstances enable you to do it. And we've all been extraordinarily fit, and we've all felt really good about ourselves. But actually, we've got to work with who we are right now as well. And that doesn't mean to say that we have to be ashamed of it. But being the best version of ourselves is really important, rather than smacking ourselves around the gym or out, running up hills and doing Cannonball Hill in Wakefield just simply because it used to work for us when we were 19. I'm not doing that ever again.
No,
I think it's extraordinary thing to do.
We use that a lot, John, like be the best version that you can be at your wherever you are in your life, whatever it is, whatever age you are, like kind of just all you've got to be is the best that you can be. That's it, physically and mentally. It is, and that is just it, isn't it? That's what you have to, and that's what you have. You can't be the person you were 20 years ago, or you can't be the person that's side here. It's no good trying to compete against other people and competing against you from past. It's just putting a new plan in place for you to make you better.
And the next one is really short. Your social media. Anybody looking to change their life right now, I think one of the things that people have got to do is comb through their social media and their follows and realise that incremental impact that's been had on you by people who are telling you how you should be. I don't think it's too much of a thing to probably get rid of quite a few of your socials, to be honest, because it's eating up a lot of the time. There's a lot of doom scrolling going on, and you are being told how to feel. More, and also on the top of this, it really drives a lot of stress and anxiety. It does constant social media scrolling as well. The research is there to show that the impact on the brain is one of stress and anxiety, and actually creates a lot of paradoxical freezing, where actually we're told to go and do this and do that and do the other, to a point where we're just overwhelmed and we just go, I don't know what to do. So I hear it all the time in my work. I'm sure you hear it all the time in yours. When in doubt, get rid. I appreciate that most people are not going to do that. So a good cull. Getting rid of the gym bunnies and the people with the ripped physiques who were trying to sell you a product and sell you an idea of looking something that is not going to be you, but not because you can't do it, but because ultimately it's not realistic. And we're being sold to all the time. So get it out of your life.
Yeah, that's great advice. Because I mean, most of them, the influence that you're talking about, most of them haven't got any qualifications anyway. They're rubbish. Or they might have the most basic. They've got no experience, no life experience actually coaching people and dealing with people's problems. There, when we listened to the self-worth podcast, it were like I were like going, I were like doubting my own and what we offer. We're like, we're not qualified to deal with this. We can't deal with people. This is crazy. That it was so deep, and it was talking about the psychological problems that people have, and I was like, oh my God. We've got a degree, for God's sake, and I were worrying about what we offer as a service. And I think all these numpties that you see on social media, like you said, Johnny, offering look like me in 8 weeks and stuff like that, you're thinking they're just a 25-year-old ripped, but like 8% body fat.
What they have is about 12 hours free a day and a lot of gear.
Yeah, exactly.
and they say they build the body by doing mountain climbers.
Yeah, I'll die on that hill. I don't care. Come at me. I don't care. You've got 12 hours free a day, loads of decent food in your house, in gear. Done.
Exactly. But people who are desperate see that and go, oh, I want it. I want that quick fix. If I can look like that in 8 weeks, brilliant. And they sell it to them and they do it, don't they?
Yeah.
It's the worst thing ever.
The next one is no goals. We just talked about not making January goals, and actually I think it's really healthy, and it can be quite a relief just to know that actually our bodies, from a recovery perspective, from a seasonal perspective, are in no position, I don't think, and you guys can tell me different. You're the ones who work with the physical aspects of the human condition, but I think we've come out of Christmas and we're in a semi-hibernation sort of phase, and we're now in no position to start making bold and audacious ideas around how we should be living the rest of the year. And so a little bit of just kindness is pretty good there. And on top of that, I would say when you do engage with the gym, no goals for a month. No goals except turning up. We are habit creatures, and habit is really good. I remember when I was playing with the coach that came in and told us about the 21-day habit, he had us all pass. Everyone can pass one way better than the other, can't they? I'm left-handed, so left to right, my pass was always a zip. Right to left, not as good. And he says, right, we're going to bring you all in and we'll look at 21-day habit. Just getting you doing one thing And he had us all home doing passing drills, and we're all there, a bunch of like academy and second team players going, we can all pass. This is why we're professional players. And actually, no, we all got better because we were just doing the process of just practicing something different. And it became habit. And I'm absolutely same off both hands now. And this is 20 odd years ago. And it sticks. Those things stick. And so it takes 3 to 4 weeks to unpick and to present a new habit. 3 to 4 weeks. So if your habit is just turning up, having a decent time, speaking to your coaches, practicing the thing, falling in love with the process, as opposed to trying to say, right, now I'm doing this, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that, I'm going to be doing the other. No, just fall in love with process and just practicing a new thing, turning up, showing up and being there. 90% of life is showing up and just getting into the gym and meeting with people and feeling good. That is enough for a month. No extra goals on top of it.
Yeah, definitely. We don't get many who join you, Matt, with that being the actual goal. Is just, but we have had it. Nadia was one of them. Once we have had a few who turn up and just say, all because like, what are you? We are kind of always ask questions, like, why are you starting? What's going on in your life? Blah blah blah. And she just went, I just want to. My goal is I want to train 3 times a week, and I want to create that. And that's what a goal was. I want to exercise 3 times a week. I want to make sure I turn up here. This is time out of my day. 3 days a week, and she nails it most of the time. She hardly ever misses, and that's what she said she wants to do, and she's done. She's been doing it about 2 years now.
And I find it in my work where people say, "I just want a space where I can come and talk."
Yeah, and that's half the battle.
And so you're under no huge pressure. Not that I ever necessarily adhere to that pressure anyway, because it's their agenda, not mine. But you're under no huge pressure to drive a clarity or a sense of something that they've picked arbitrarily, or something that actually is quite a lot of work to unpick, other than just allowing time and process. And what happens is, if someone's committed to 3-4 times a week over a large period of time, within that period, you can achieve all sorts of stuff, because you know the habit that you've created is going to enable them to try it. And if that client comes to you and says, all right, I really want to train for a marathon, you know they're going to come 3 times a week. So what you can do is you can tweak training, or, you know what, I'm going to do a long walk, or, absolutely, I'm going to have a go at, I'm going to do some, what they call those crazy things that people are doing right now. They're a bit CrossFitty. The
High rocks,
thank you. Yeah,
high rocks comps.
Yeah, they're a bit CrossFitty. Look at the man. Look at the man who's seen it on social media and gone, no. Yeah, we want to do something like that. You've got them for 3 weeks, because what they've done is they've created a link and a love of process. So you can throw anything into that mixer and it's going to come out. And that's the thing. Just no goals, sustainable habits with training for training's sake. Why do you train? Because I train, because I like it. And that's a really good core aim that, is the sort of change that we should be after.
Yeah. It is, and if people can build that, like say, and we do go back to habits, don't we? Nearly everything we talk about it is kind of, if you can create healthy habits, you're so close to being that version of you that you want to be. And if you can get, like say, if you can start at that and that's your goal, and you can just nail exercise as one of your things, then you can work on other things once that's done, can't you? Then you can look at your nutrition side of things. There's all the extras, little bolt-ons, and they're not as big a step then, are they, if you do it in stages?
I think that's really, really that's spot on. Yeah, it's just about collecting achievement and understanding it, and working with someone who can acknowledge and go, "You've done really well there." Because we're really good at going, "I've messed that up. I've not done really well there." We're really good at criticism. We're really shame and survival heavy. What we're not is we're not very good at going, "I did a thing," or "Look how far I've come." And I'll hold up the mirror to clients and go, "You know what? 6 months ago, you wouldn't have said that. That's a really positive thing. That's a really interesting outlook." And they'll go, "Oh my God, yeah, like, I didn't know that." So if we're going to stack up all the negatives about us, actually falling in love with the idea that we're pretty good at some stuff, and we've got coaches and people around us who acknowledge that as well, that's really important.
Yeah, I've used from you, I think it was you, wasn't it, when we said it, that last one, and all them little things, when you stack them habits up, you're raising your floor, aren't you? And I like that, and I love it, that I've used that loads.
It is good. That is a very good one, that.
Jamie Jones Buchanan, that consistently average, it would, but just raise that floor up a little bit, so your bad days don't get any lower than this. Do you know what I mean? You've got like a standard that you don't drop below. I'm not saying ever, because everybody has a total thing, but yeah, I think raising your floor is an unbelievable thing, because people, they don't want to do that, do they? They want to be, how good can they be on the best day? You know, whereas that ain't going to make you changes. It's how good you are on your bad day. That's what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, I've scored hat tricks, and I've had games where I've not wanted to walk out on field.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. I've got games where I don't want to be anywhere else apart from play, and there are games where I'm on, or days where I'm on, when everything's going right, and I feel like King Midas. And the middle's got to be the aim, hasn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
The middle's got to be the aim.
Yeah,
in everything.
I think the last one, it's a little bit about, I can combine the last two. I think personal therapy is really important, and how that comes, it doesn't necessarily mean going to see a therapist, although I would advocate it for the right people. I think an opportunity to talk around, because remember, a lot of our behaviours in the gym, a lot of our professional behaviours, a lot of our behaviours in our relationships, a lot of the time they're shaped and driven by stuff that we've been through. We are quite a lot of the time the accumulation of our experiences, and so if we have habits and ways of seeing the world that are informed by some of the stuff that we've survived or been through, and traumas that we've collected, and we all do, we all get through, none of us get through life unscarred. It's really important that we understand that this stuff is things that we've got to be aware of. We don't have to be defined by it, but we need a space where we can talk through it. And we find our therapists in different ways. Some people come see people like me, other people find it in friendship groups. Some people do things like, Andy's man clubs and stuff like that. They can always be really useful. But it's about finding the space through which you can derive that sense of clarity and that sense of therapy, but ultimately feeling heard and feeling seen. Because a lot of those habits that keep coming up, they're driven by a sense of something not listened to and something not acknowledged. And it's the shame bear we talked about in the last session. We've been chased by a bear through the woods, and all we're doing is throwing achievement and different things in front of it and hoping we can trip it up. But eventually it's going to bite us in the ass, and it's going to hold on. And so until we acknowledge a lot of stuff that has gone on, it's really important that we know that ultimately that stuff's going to be stuff that is going to keep cropping up. So talking about it, addressing it, looking it in the eye, life and death stare at us all. The only thing we can do is stare back. That's a quote. I've adapted it, sweet. It's not my words. It's something that I've nicked. But
there's some great ones out there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, like life stares at us, and death does too, and we've got to stare back. If we're running away all the time, we're going to get bitten in the bum. And so finding a space where we can do our personal work and understand why we do what we do is really important. And on top of that, this is where we make friends with failure. We've got to fail fast, fail quickly, fail forwards as well, and understanding that sometimes in the gym, if we're going to make a mistake, or we miss a session, or we're plateauing out in our results and things like that, or we've not lost the weight, managing our expectations around that's going to happen, and who are we and what's going to happen if and when we fail, and we are going to fail. So failure resilience is incredibly important for people who have been desperate for change. And if they're getting change early on, but then they don't see it for a while, then that's that real test. So understanding failure, and for you guys, it's managing people's understanding that at some point you're not going to lose any weight. In fact, might put a couple of pounds on. You're going to come back after Christmas and you're going to feel terrible. But that's to be expected. It's okay to feel like that. It's just about getting back to where you started and how we work with failure, because we haven't learned anything if we haven't failed. Once upon a time, we couldn't put our shoes on. Once upon a time, we couldn't tie them. We learned through messing it up and being redirected. As kids, we're really good at that because we don't know anything. As adults, we think we should be perfect. It's about dismissing failure as something that shouldn't be in our lives and welcoming it in as a way to grow. That can happen through therapy, but also with guys like you within a gym context and managing people through that transition, which is going to be bumpy.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's it, mate. It's a real eye-opener. I said that podcast that we listened to, the one that prompted us to do this and get you on, that were an eye-opener to me. But just listening to you, I think it's great. So, yeah, like I said, you realise how important it is to talk and listen to what everybody else is going through. It's because it makes you feel normal then. You realise we're all the same. There's nobody different. It's very good. What else from you, Matt?
I don't think there is. It's all covered, isn't it?
It's nailed it.
You could go on and on down the same things, and I think we could all talk about it. And we've got stuff that we'd, but off the top of my head, no, it's perfect. Really, is that?
Yeah,
I think you feel better about what we do, because I think we are decent at that side of it. I mean, we're not trainers of beating people up for fit.
We kind of do, don't we? What Johnny talks about, we do. We talk to people. We try and help them on that path. It's not we don't just do short, sharp. Here's a massive calorie reduction program to follow for 8 weeks and try and lose a stone. We're just not about that.
Come back and like when people said that
longevity,
they feel like crap after they've been on holiday, and we've all said it's normal. I think we all do that. You come back off holiday and you don't feel great, so got on wobbling.
Right. Very good.
Yeah,
All right.
no, that's
Thanks,
great.
Johnny.
Yeah.
No worries, guys.
Mate.
Thanks very much. Really enjoyed it. If you listened, if you've got any more questions, drop us a message. Get in touch with us on those platforms. You can message. You can get in touch with either of us. That's great.
Yeah. Class.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, love that, Johnny.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, guys.
See you, boys.
Cheers, mate. See ya.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked the episode, we'd like you to share with us that on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter. You can listen again on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a rating and a review, and any comments would be more than appreciated. And hopefully you'll tune back next time for our next episode.
The Yorkshire Fitness Podcast.